Hi, I'm Jenny Lauren Dowden for Conduit News, and today we have Professor Patrick Wolf joining us. He is Distinguished Professor at the University of Arkansas and one of the nation's leading school choice experts. Dr. Wolf, thanks for being with us today.
Happy to be here, Jenny.
It's been a while, so we wanted to have you back in the studio to talk about LEARNS. It is still dominating the news here in Arkansas. Talk to us about the implementation of the LEARNS Act and where we are moving into this first year of that law.
Implementation is well underway. The large salary increases for all public school teachers are in the planning stage. They're about to take effect once school starts in August. The Arkansas Department of Education also is hiring literacy tutors to assist and deliver the literacy intervention that's central to LEARNS. The school choice program is accepting applications. There are over 4,000 qualified students for the education freedom accounts, and 89 private schools are certified as eligible to participate in that program. The math intervention for kids struggling with math, that's in the planning works. There's just a lot of exciting activity to help deliver a much more effective education to K-12 students in our state.
That sounds so exciting. But when you factor in there is a petition going around to collect signatures, is there even an appetite here in Arkansas amongst our voters to repeal the LEARNS Act, considering especially those wonderful things that you mentioned that could possibly be in place?
Yeah, I mean, three of the most popular education policies in the state of Arkansas are private school choice, increasing teacher salaries, and literacy interventions. And those three are central to the LEARNS Act. Yeah. So the petition drive is really jousting at three highly popular policies that were enthusiastically enacted by the state legislature with overwhelming majority votes and signed into law by Governor Sanders. So even if they do get it on the ballot and there is an informational campaign to inform voters about what they will lose if they repeal LEARNS, I think it will go down in defeat just overwhelmingly. But that would delay the benefits of the act. It would delay the school choice opportunities. It would delay teacher raises. So it would in effect revoke the raises that are scheduled to take effect this month. So there would be a lot of harm done to state efforts to help students in the wake of COVID learning loss. But ultimately, I think all they could do is delay. They could not repeal.
I've seen conversation on Twitter. It's always interesting. I stay out of it, but I like to follow all of it. It's very entertaining at times. There's conversation about how this was not on the ballot. School choice and LEARNS was not on the ballot when voters were choosing who they wanted for governor. And I think that Governor Sanders' administration has made it clear that, well, she campaigned on educational freedom and letting parents have the opportunity to choose what's best for them and their kid. And in a sense, it was, and they overwhelmingly voted for her. And that, as you said, our legislature rallied behind and passed this. What do you say to that? When you hear people say, oh, this isn't necessarily what Arkansans want or what voters want, what do you say to that?
School choice was a big part of our legislative and statewide elections this past election cycle. And school choice supporters overwhelmingly won. When primaries were contested among Republicans, the candidate who more strongly supported school choice won in almost all of those cases. And in close races between Republicans and Democrats, the pro-school choice Republicans overwhelmingly defeated the skeptical Democrats. So this was a central issue in the elections. The voters spoke resoundingly in favor of candidates who supported school choice. Governor Sanders won election as governor with around 70% of the vote.
I would say that.
Yeah. So there was a very strong endorsement for it. And that's another reason why ultimately I don't see the prospects for this petition drive and referendum to succeed.
We've had you on to talk about this countless times. I feel like we need to revisit our Mythbusters again to talk about this, but something that just won't go away is accusing the LEARNS Act and this program being a voucher system. Talk to us about that. How do you see that, not just in the first year, but then how it's implemented over the next 3 years?
Sure. School voucher programs have existed in the United States since 1869, so they're nothing new.
Right.
And they involve the government providing resources to families that are limited to private school tuition and fees.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So that's why it's called a voucher. It's basically like a ticket or payment in support of private school tuition and fees. What we have in the LEARNS Act is what we call education freedom accounts. They're widely known as education savings accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very different. They're much more flexible and allow for the customization of a child's education. So basically, the state sends a portion of the funds they would spend on a student in public schools into an account controlled by parents that parents can use to purchase educational products and services for their child.
Yeah.
So it's not a voucher. I mean, there's nothing voucher-like about it. It's a transfer of funds into a spending account. And parents don't have to make a single purchase. They don't have to direct it to a single provider.
Mm-hmm.
They can make multiple purchases and use various providers for educational curriculum, tutoring, special therapies for kids with special needs. It's just a whole different animal.
It is. And the way that you can customize it and become so specific in what your child needs, I think is really spectacular. Right now, we know that the emergency rules govern the implementation. Talk to us about where we are in that process and the permanent rules.
Yeah, the emergency rules look to me as a 25-year researcher on these questions. They look to me as very solid, very appropriate. And as we move to permanent rules, I think the permanent rules are going to be very similar to the emergency rules. They are going to protect the mission and the identity of private school providers. So private school providers
Mm-hmm.
won't have to change who they are and what they do in order to participate. That's very important.
Right.
The permanent rules will expand the number of and the type of education services and products that parents can purchase through the EFAs. So that will make the program much more fully customizable. And the permanent rules also, I think, are going to set clearer guidelines about what the private schools have to do, what the private schools don't have to do in delivering their educational services to children.
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and that's very important. And we've learned from other programs that if the government is too heavy-handed in its treatment of private providers, they fold up their tent and go away.
Yeah.
And that doesn't help anyone, because then that provider and their services are not available to parents.
Well, then talk to us as you gave that point. What recommendations would you have then for these permanent rules?
So certainly stick with the requirement in the law that private schools get to choose the test that they will administer in order to provide accountability for the education of a child, and be very expansive in the list of acceptable tests involved. Many students are attending classical schools in our state. Well, there's a classical learning test. That would be the most appropriate test for those students. So make sure that the private schools can administer a test that's an appropriate fit for their curriculum. So I want to see a very expansive list of acceptable tests. That would be just one example of making sure that lead to a circumstance where the state imposes a one size fits all kind of straitjacket. That's exactly what we don't want.
Right.
Because that's antithetical to school choice.
Right. What are you hearing from people in your profession, not just here in Arkansas, but around the country about the LEARNS Act? And then also you work so closely with teachers and educators and staff. What are you hearing from them about LEARNS?
So nationally, people are very excited. Arkansas was a laggard on school choice for decade after decade, and now suddenly we've leapt ahead, and now we are leader in school choice. We are one of the first 5 states to have a program that will grow to universal access, and that's very exciting.
Yeah.
People are impressed with that. There's also, I think a lot of folks are impressed with the total package of education programs that are in LEARNS that make a lot of sense, improving teacher salaries. The literacy tutors are one of the few education policies that we consistently see positive effects from that.
Yeah.
So that's a great element. The math interventions are solid, and the many other aspects of LEARNS are it's just a really exciting package. In terms of public school teachers, they are looking forward to getting paid more for their worthy endeavors, for their yeoman service in schools. And so it will be especially disappointing to public school teachers if this program gets paused and put on the ballot for possible repeal, because they deserve a salary raise. That salary raise is central to LEARNS. And if you revoke the LEARNS Act, you deny public school teachers that raise.
Anything else that you want to talk about that we haven't covered? This has been really helpful.
I think it's just very exciting
Yeah.
that Arkansas is on the move in terms of K-12 education. I think we need to be a leader in this area. There is a lot of room for improvement. And the LEARNS Act was a great package and is a great package of interventions to do that. And so I'm looking forward to it surviving these challenges, these many challenges thrown in front of it, and being fully implemented for the benefit of children, families, and everyone in our state.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome, Jimmy.